I've been really craving working with gouache lately, and really the only gouache I have is like a dried up palette of Arteza gouache and my Himi Maya gouache, which is very dry now since I haven't used it in a really long time and I bought it a while ago. I think it's been a couple of years since I bought the Himi gouache. So my only option was this set of Emgram gouache that I have been holding on to for a shameful amount of time. My partner Steven got this for me like 3 Christmases ago, I think, of just this standard set of like a starter set of Emgram gouache. I've been holding off using it because it's definitely one of those like, ooh, it's an expensive art supply and I'm not super comfortable with the medium situations where I'm scared to use it. Like, I've been really looking forward to using it because of course I knew I would because I really enjoy working with gouache, but like, I don't know, it was just really intimidating, but like I said, I've been really wanting to play with gouache lately, so I decided to cave and use this one. I came up with these really cute concepts for this month's Patreon artwork. Normally I do one 5x7 print, but I really wanted to do like a Polaroid style set of prints. So I decided to do 2 little illustrations of these cats on a date in like a little rose garden, and they're on a picnic, and just very cute, like lighthearted, non like human character based things, because I feel like I've been a little burnt out with drawing just like human characters over and over again, which I definitely get into that position here and there when I'm actually making artwork where it's like, all right, I need some kind of like different subject matter to work with for a little bit, even if it's just for like a handful of drawings or sketches. I just need to work with something else, and normally I fluctuate towards either like Pokemon or I don't even know what. A lot of times I fluctuate towards Pokemon, but I've been really enjoying making cat illustrations lately, and most of them have been digital. I haven't done a ton of traditional cat illustrations for like anything specific, so I really wanted to do this idea because I thought it would be super cute, and I'm really happy I did this with gouache. Initially my plan was to do this for watercolors, I think is what I was gonna do initially, but I was like, ooh, this would be like a really cute illustration to do in gouache, especially since it's not like a humanistic character based situation. I feel like the design itself is a lot simpler, so I feel like that's a very good like dipping my toes back into gouache kind of illustration, because I really haven't used gouache in a while. Like, I want to say the last time I was actually consistently using gouache was when I first got my Himi Maya gouaches, and since they're like dried up now, I definitely can reactivate them. It's just so much work, and like, I don't know, you can use them dry and reactivate them in small amounts, but I think gouache is a lot easier to work with and a lot more comfortable to work with when you're working with a wet selection of paint, because I don't know, it's just easier to grab, and like gouache itself is a medium that I have always struggled with in the sense of it takes a really long time to make a finished illustration with gouache for me, especially compared to watercolors. Like, gouache requires so much layering, so much patience. I don't know, it just takes so long for me to do a finished piece with gouache. And there's always the ugly phase, which now that I'm more comfortable with gouache, I'm very okay with the ugly phase. I know it's going to be so ugly for a while before it comes together. Definitely didn't experience that as much with these pieces because they weren't like specific character based. So there was a lot of wiggle room in terms of that ugly phase for me, but I have discovered I am a very lazy artist. I don't want to do pieces that are super extensive and take a really long time. I like that like not instant gratification, but like very like minimal time put in gratification of finishing a piece, where I just don't want to sit down and spend like 4 hours working on gouache illustrations, because I think that's around what these 2 pieces took me. I think together they took me about 5 hours to complete, which if I did this in watercolors, the actual painting process for these pieces probably would have been like half an hour tops, and that's with me doing like painted watercolor line work for these, which I really enjoy doing with watercolor pieces, as opposed to using like fine liners or like just like a gel pen for the entirety of the artwork. I really like how soft it looks for literally any medium I've kind of done this with, of doing the line work or the suggested line work or whatever it is for the piece with the medium you've done the rest of the piece with. I've done it with watercolors, gouache, and alcohol markers, actually. Alcohol markers can be a little bit trickier because I prefer to have somewhat thin line work. So getting a thin line is really dependent on what kind of nibs you have on your alcohol markers and like how soft they are, especially if they're brush markers, because some brush markers are super soft and they really want to go hard with like a super thick tip in terms of the line work. Anyways, I really like doing that. So with watercolors, I feel like using watercolors as a medium for myself is something that I'm able to achieve so easily. It helps that I'm really comfortable with watercolors, and there's also a very, very good amount of leeway with working with watercolors, because if you mess up, if you have nice watercolors and decent paper, you can just lift the colors. Not necessarily all of it all the time, but you can lift, especially if it's a darker color, you can lift most of the pigment. So like there's a lot of leeway with working with watercolors, so that gives me confidence as well, versus with like India inks, which is a medium I've been really enjoying lately as well. Once that stuff's on there, it's on there, so I try to be a lot more patient and pay attention to especially just like the color mixes I'm putting down, because with inks I don't have a huge selection, so I have to mix pretty much every color I want to work with. So I just have to be really careful that I'm like testing on a separate swatch piece of paper, being like, okay, is this the color I actually want it to be, or do I have to change it a little bit? Because I have very much so experienced trying to go fast with inks and that ending up biting me in the butt, because the color isn't what I wanted, and when it's down and it's not going anywhere. But yeah, gouache is also a forgiving medium because you can just layer stuff over and over again. I definitely want to get it somewhat right on the first pass, just to give myself that piece of, I don't have to layer things like 4 times. But especially on the second illustration I did, I went in with the grass being like way too yellow leaning, and I had to repaint over it a couple of times. But man, guys, I have been on such a green kick lately. Green is really quickly turning into one of, if not my favorite color. Pink has been my favorite color for the longest time. I feel like I have a lot of sentimental attachment to saying pink is my favorite color, so I think I'm gonna keep, we're just gonna keep pink at the top tier. But green, oh my gosh, like a nice, like yellowy, sappy, like almost like a poopy green. I have been living for green lately. I've been enjoying it so much. I want everything to be green. I definitely think plants are a major factor of like slowly pushing me into absolutely loving green, because yellow and green were like kind of my least favorite colors for a while. I always say it, and I'm so sorry to purple lovers, but purple is my least favorite color. It has been since the beginning of time. I don't know why, because pink is so close to it. Well, I do know why purple's my least favorite color. That's a lie. Okay, so like my great aunt would have a Christmas tree every year, obviously. It was a white Christmas tree with purple decorations. It was a lot. And my mother hated it, so by association, I hated it. And for whatever reason, that has made me dislike the color purple. I'm getting a lot better about it. Like, every now and then I see a purple and I'm just like, oh my god, that's like the best shade of purple. But I don't use it too much in my illustrations because it's a color that I just don't fluctuate towards. But anyways, yellow and green have been colors that I have not valued for the longest time. And especially with like a mustard yellow becoming like a popular color for like clothes and whatever it may be, I very quickly grew to love mustard yellow. It is such a beautiful color. And then greens, oh my god, greens hit me like a truck. I want everything to be green. I recently painted some furniture in my apartment green, and I'm going to paint more furniture in my apartment green, because I also recently realized that it is very okay to just like paint your furniture fun colors. Like, it's so fun to paint your furniture fun colors. And I know it kind of sounds silly to be like, I'm 23 years old and I just realized I can paint my furniture fun colors. But like, I don't know, I feel like I've always been stuck in that weird space of like, everything, I need to be an adult. I need to have my space look adult-ish. I say with having like plushes decorate a lot of my space. But like, I don't know, just a weird like subconscious idea of like, it has to be like adulty. But no, I painted my like, I don't know, $80 Target cube storage unit green in my office space. Oh my god, I'm so in love with it. It is so beautiful, and I want to paint my living room furniture like a dark green. so that way it doesn't like stand out too much, but like it'll still look really nice and brighten up the room, because I have very like dark wood furniture right now. So anyways, I have been on such a green kick. When I do like little illustrations, I want to throw green in there left and right. Like I want green, man. Green is such a good color. It's very quickly become like my second favorite color. I am in love with green. So yeah, I was really excited to do these pieces, especially the second one. The first one was much more simpler in design and just like everything going on, versus the second one was busier. And I was really glad I did that, just because, like I said, I haven't really worked with gouache in a little while now, so it was nice to work on a much simpler piece and then go into what isn't even really detailed, but something that was significantly more detailed than the previous piece, especially since I'm working with a set that's limited to 5 colors and I have to mix everything. I'm grateful that like when I first started setting up my professional watercolors palette, which is just a mix of Daniel Smith and M-Gram watercolor paints, I was very limited at first while I was building up my collection, so that really helped me get accustomed to mixing colors, because palettes I've had in the past have always been ones that have such a big color selection that if I'm mixing colors, it's really just to tint a specific color. I'm not mixing from like primaries or anything like that. So that was really nice. And then also working with India inks has been kind of a very similar situation of, I do have more than just primaries, but not enough to just use ink straight out of the bottle to lay down. I'm definitely mixing so much, so that's helped me be a lot more confident in color mixing, which isn't the biggest thing in the world, honestly. I feel like it's a very, very, first of all, very, very, very important skill to have. It's not a necessity by any means, because you can get palettes or markers or whatever it may be that have such a big color selection, but like once you get the hang of it, super, super easy and very fun to be like, like I can work off of a primary set and be totally fine. I do know, for the sake of convenience, when it comes to these M-Gram gouache paints, in the future, I really would like to get a larger selection of them. I have a local art supply store that sells them open stock, and every time I go there, I'm like, should I buy more? But like I said, I've had this set for like almost 2.5 years, and I hadn't touched it because I was scared of it. So I didn't buy any gouache paints, which is nice. I did, however, buy a really big tube of white. That's like a much, much larger milliliter tube of white, which I'm immensely grateful for, because when it comes to gouache, you're gonna blaze through white faster than any color just in mixing stuff alone. So I do have a backup white, but in the future, I think I would like to expand this little gouache selection to probably like around a dozen tubes, just so I don't have to spend so much time mixing, which again isn't a bad thing by any means. It's just for convenience over anything. So in the future, I'll probably pick up some more tubes, especially some nice like sappy greens. I need some nice sappy greens. It's such a good color. Oh my gosh. Also pinks, because I really struggle mixing pinks. I never get a pink that I'm like super, super happy with. It's always like leaning too much in like a weird direction. I don't know. I'm very picky with pinks, so we'll probably get a pink tube in the future. But like I mentioned at the earlier point in the video, these are the artworks for this month's Patreon print. Normally I do a single 5x7, but I had this idea and my patrons were totally okay with getting 2 4x6s as opposed to 1 5x7. So if you are interested in getting these prints, I'll put up a picture on screen right now of what they actually look like as prints, because I really wanted to do them Polaroid formatted, where they look like little Polaroid prints, but I was not gonna worry about doing that through the painting. I was just like, this is just something I'm gonna do in editing, because I don't really want to fight with the dimensions of the actual physical artwork versus the prints, so I just did it in editing, and I'm so happy with how they turned out. I think they're so insanely cute. I'm very, very happy with them. So if you're interested in snagging these guys, the way my Patreon prints work is that they are limited edition for the specific month. So if you pledge for the print tier anytime this month, you can sign up for it, and then you'll get these in the mail at the beginning of next month. You can cancel Patreon at any time. I do not get offended when people cancel Patreon. If you want just these prints, you can sign up and then immediately cancel. You'll still be charged for this month, so you'll still be getting the rewards, but that way you don't have to worry about the billing reoccurring. So that'll be linked below if you are interested. It is just $10 a month in US dollars, and it ships anywhere. So because I ship with stamps, it is international welcome. You don't have to worry about wherever you live. I will ship anywhere for Patreon rewards. So like I said, link will be in the description if you're interested. I feel like I don't plug my Patreon enough, especially in YouTube videos, which is my main platform for any social media. Like, I definitely scream about Patreon over on my Instagram account, but I really don't have that many Instagram followers because I do not consistently post to Instagram. I try my best, but like, man, social media is so freaking rough. I am honestly so impressed and also like slightly concerned for creators who so consistently post to like every platform there is. Like, there's people out there who post to like Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, like TikTok. Oh my gosh, guys. Listen, I'm really struggling to just manage Instagram and YouTube. So, you know, like, I'm proud of everyone who's able to do that, especially when it comes to like single team creators. Like, it's one thing if it's multiple people working, even then, like, that's a lot of social medias to handle. But being a single independent content creator, being able to post consistently that many platforms sounds so insanely exhausting. I'm exhausted doing too. So more power to you if you're able to do that. I've thought about making like little TikToks and stuff, but I'm like, you know what? That's just too much for me because I'm going to make one and then not touch it for like 8 months. And right now I go to TikTok to relax. I go to TikTok to see funny videos of cats and cute videos of cats. Ugh. So yeah. I'm keeping that social media to be a very like lighthearted. This is not at any point in time going to be work related. So more power to you if you're able to consistently post to that many social medias when it comes to actually sharing your artwork. Ooh, I could never. I am really happy with how these illustrations turned out though. I feel like I might hopefully get into like a little gouache kick again because I absolutely love the finished effect of gouache. I really like working with an opaque medium that feels so comfortable to work with because I've always in the back of my mind wanted to get comfortable and into working with acrylics, but I don't know, it's weirdly an intimidating medium for me. And like, I don't ever see myself doing any like character specific artwork with it, sadly, versus gouache is so much easier for me to handle because it's just like thick watercolors. Like, gouache is so nice to work with. This gouache specifically, so nice to work with. This is my first time using professional grade gouache. Honestly, I didn't notice a huge difference between the Himi Maya gouache versus this gouache. I've only done a couple of illustrations with it, and to begin with, I wasn't super familiar with gouache to begin with. I can definitely tell that the pigments are really nice, but as far as like the actual working with the medium goes, it compared very similarly. So I don't really know what makes a professional gouache better other than the pigment information and them being probably light fast and like all that good stuff, but I really enjoyed working with it, and I want to make more gouache illustrations soon, now that I'm on this gouache kick, and I can use the excuse of that to treat myself to buying more tubes of the Mgram gouache, because it's so, so beautiful, and having a place locally that sells open stock tubes of it, absolutely wonderful. Because otherwise, like, as far as, like, big chain art supply stores, I'm pretty sure the only gouache they carry is Winsor & Newton, which is totally fine. Like, I've used their watercolors in the past, their common watercolors, and I do really enjoy them, but I don't know. I feel like the Mgram ones are a little fancier. Not in the sense of, like, the paints are better by any means, but they themselves, because they're Mgram, are fancier. I know that's kind of a cursed mentality because at the end of the day, if the art supply works, the art supply works, but I really like the Mgram watercolors, so I'm just gonna have some small amounts of brand loyalty to Mgram and favor their brand over other ones, which is fine. Thank you guys so much for the support on all my most recent videos, though. I'm definitely not in a state of consistently posting YouTube videos, but I'm trying to, at the very least, post every now and then. The YouTube algorithm has also been really not in my favor for almost the past year. It's been really, really rough in that sense, so my past few videos have done, like, statistically wise, significantly better. Not that stats necessarily matter by any means, because at the end of the day, I just really enjoy making YouTube videos, but, like, YouTube has a specific way it organizes your stats on YouTube Studio, which is a creator app and like program for viewing your like views, your stats, your subscriber count. And it's been rough for a little bit. The algorithm has really not been favoring me. So my past videos have been the best like performing videos I've had in a while. So that in of itself is really encouraging. So I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. And thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed experiencing this little gouache moment, because hopefully there will be many more to come, because I love working with this medium. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.